Hello gamers, my name is Spark, and today I'm going to show you an awesome, one-of-a-kind tool that you can use at your D&D or other TTRPG table. In this video, I'm going to show you an item and loot generator. This is a great tool for GMs, so if you're a player, send this to your GM because I think they're really going to like it. Be advised, this generator is built specifically for D&D 5e, but with just a little bit of tweaking, you can make it work for basically any TTRPG. Here's how this video is going to go. For starters, I'm going to show you the basics of how this tool works and how you can use it at your table. Then I'm going to show you what's happening behind the scenes to make the generator work and how you can customize it to better fit your campaign. This is a pretty large generator, and really it was this generator that started it all. It was my desire to create this generator that taught me the skills, especially with some help from people online, that I used to create all of the other generators. And it's this generator that probably gets used the most. It's a 5-in-1 generator where each section can operate individually or collectively as a whole. So what are the different parts? We have the magic item generator, we have the mundane item generator, we have treasure generation, we have trinkets, and then we have a little bit of everything that pulls these three sections together. A little bit of everything does not pull trinkets, and I'll talk about why later on. As with all of my generators, there are 4 key elements. There's the generate button that gets everything started. In this case, I have 5 different generate buttons. There are settings, which you can see all over the place, which I will explain. Then there's results, which we have 5 different sections for those as well. And then we have the storage system that allows you to store results for future use. So let's just take these one at a time. We'll start with these 4 individual sections, and then we'll look at the 5th section, which is a little bit of everything. So the magic item generator is exactly what you would expect. It allows you to generate a random magic item from the master list. Now, the master list I will show you in the second half of this video when we talk about customization. But if you look under the draw section right here, you can see that the master list has 493 magic items in it. However, the current draw depth is 423. What do these two numbers mean? Well, this means that there are 493 magic items in the master list possible. However, based upon the settings as you have set them, there are only 423 possible results that will be produced. Why is this number less than this number? Because these 2 boxes are unchecked. If we check both of these boxes, you'll notice now they match because we have told the generator we want everything to be possible. But let's say that you want to provide some common, uncommon, or rare armors. Well, then you would come in, you would uncheck everything else. Let's say you only want to stick with official created stuff. You want it to be permanent only. You don't want anything that's limited use. For example, a limited use item would be something like a ring that has charges that once those charges are expended, the ring ceases to function, right? That's a limited use. Permanent, it obviously means that it's permanent. And then you don't care whether it's attunement required or non-attunement. So you leave those checked. Okay, well, we've just told the generator what we want, and it's saying, okay, there are 22 possible options. You tell it how many of those you want generated. You can generate between 1 and 5. You click generate, and the result that you get is the armor of resistance, which is rare, it is armor, permanent, it is official, and it does require attunement. And there's your result. Now, obviously you can see that the armor of resistance doesn't have a description here. And in order for you to know what the armor of resistance is, you would need to have the requisite D&D book. And that's why what I'm doing here is not copyright infringement or anything like that, because just the name armor of resistance isn't going to benefit you at all if you don't actually have the books. Unless, of course, you're a GM who knows everything in your head, or you just want to wing it, in which case you're not using the books anyway, and you're not really playing D&D, you're just playing a tabletop game that resembles D&D. Anyway, I'm off topic. So that's essentially how it works. You have 12 different types of magical items here, and so you get to filter based upon what you want to possibly be generated. You have your 6 different rarity options, and as I already pointed out to you, you have these additional filters, and that's it. That's how the magic item generator works. The mundane generator works exactly the same. If you understood what I did over here, you understand how this works. Again, you have 12 different types. You have common, uncommon, and rare. You have their sources and such, and you have your max draw depth, current draw depth, how many do you want to generate? There you go. So how you might seeing this be used is, let's say your party is going to a general store, or maybe your party is looting the Magister's office and you want them to be able to find a cool magical item, then maybe you say, well, any of these are possible, and let's just say you get one, but meanwhile, let's turn these off, there could be 4 common or uncommon of any number of these, probably no vehicles though, or animals. So you click generate, and now you say, as you've looted the Magister's office, you find a staff, some mason's tools, that you find a grappling hook, there's a rapier leaning up on the wall next to the hearth, and you find a banded agate gemstone in a hidden drawer in his desk. And in this way, you've just created some loot that your party can grab without you having to flip through books or try to remember hundreds and hundreds of items. You can just click a couple buttons and there you go. And it's all been random. And again, that's what TTRPGs are all about. You let the dice decide. And in this case, instead of you rolling a D20 or a D100 from a loot table in the book, you're rolling from 287 or 271. And so you have a lot more depth and variety of results. So those are our magical and mundane items. Let's take a look at the treasure. The treasure generator is exactly what you would expect it to be. It generates coinage for your players. Let's take a look at the settings. You have 3 main sections for settings. You've got the climate, the incident, and the yield. Climate refers to the world in which your players are playing. This is set by the GM. Are the players playing in a profitable climate? Or in other words, what is the table that you want them to have? Do you want a meager table where they have to scrape tooth and nail for every gold piece that they get? Or do you want a really lucrative table, or anywhere in between, determining how much gold they get? What's their average player level? You have 1 through 20. The assumption being, right, that the higher level they are, the more gold that they're getting. And then you have the incident section, and this has to do with what just happened for them to get gold or treasure. So you have a quest. Did they just complete a quest or similar idea, and how difficult was that quest? The idea being, of course, that more difficult quests will produce more treasure. Who are they getting this gold from? Is it a dragon horde? Is it a group of bandits? Is it a troll horde? Where is this money coming from? And what was that target's wealth? Or if this is a reward for a job well done, let's say that your players took a bounty for the local magistrate, what is that target's wealth? The magister's wealth. Poor, fair, impressive, or exotic, right? Select whichever one is appropriate for the event that just took place. And then you have the yield, and this gives you some control over the type of treasure that's going to be generated. So for specialty items, do you want no specialty items? Or in other words, it's just going to be gold or coinage. Do you want coinage and gems? Or do you want a variety of everything? So this is where you look down here in the results. Coinage is going to be in these 4 gray cells right here. Gems will generate in these 5 lighter gray cells, and unique items will generate down here in this section. So if you say no specialty items, it will not generate gems and it will not generate uniques, it will only generate coinage. So for the sake of this example, let's do a variety. And then your final setting here is a raw modifier. This is just an easy way for you to increase or decrease the yield of this treasure generation, irrespective of everything else. Do you want a large penalty? That means they're going to be getting less treasure. Obviously, a large bonus means they're going to be getting more treasure. So the idea being, the way that I would use this, I would set climate and probably not adjust it unless my players leveled up. Incident would obviously be dependent upon the incident. Let's say that they were given a quest that had several other minor objectives, and if they completed the minor objectives, then that they would get bonuses. And let's say they completed all of their minor objectives, so you want to give them a large bonus. So that's what that's for. With all of your settings set, there's one last one that's right here that you can't forget, and that's, are you generating a horde or an individual? In D&D 5e, the amount of treasure that you get is dependent upon, is this individual treasure from like a person or a group of bandits, or is this a horde like a dragon's horde or a troll's horde or that kind of thing? And I have a really funny story about this. My wife DMs a table that I play at, and she was using this generator to generate treasure for my very pickpockety, thiefy type character, and I kept getting these really awesome, big old thick coin purses off of these people, and she kept just shaking her head and being like, well, that's what the generator said. She didn't realize that she had had it set to horde, which automatically is going to have a way more treasure in it than individual. And I will show you the difference. And so let's go individual, and let's show you some results now. So in this fairly profitable climate, players are level 4, the quest was medium difficulty, the target's wealth was fair. We want a variety of items with no additional modifier. They get 18 gold, 60 silver, and 99 copper. They get some gemstones, and they also get an ivory flute, a 4-sided die, and a 6-sided die. And there you go. There's some treasure that has been generated based on the incident that just happened, contingent upon the climate and the overall yield. Do note now the difference between an individual versus a horde. Notice how horde, we just jumped up to 68 platinum and 72 gold and so forth. So that makes a big difference. So don't forget to change from horde to individual contingent upon what your players are looting or getting treasure from. So that's the treasure generation part. Let's scroll down and look at the trinket generator. The settings here are very simple. How many trinkets do you want? You can set it to random or 1 through 5. We'll just set it to 5 for now. Click generate, and there you go. You get some trinkets that you can throw in that your players find wherever it is that they're getting this loot from. Now you'll notice that some of these trinkets do have like a latent magical element to them, like a brass ring that never tarnishes, or a woodcutter's axe that refuses to cut anything but wood. But again, you wouldn't necessarily say that these are magic items that can be sold for tens of thousands of gold, as much as these are just interesting little curiosities. Okay, so with that introduction to the 4 separate generators, let's take a look at the 5th one that encapsulates these other 3. A little bit of everything will generate treasure, mundane items, and magical items. But you'll notice that it says not ready. In order for the little bit of everything to be ready to generate for everything, the following criteria must be met. And notice that as I'm hovering my mouse over this cell with the black triangle in the corner, that I get a little pop-up. Any cell where you see a black triangle in the corner, if you hover your mouse over that, you'll get the pop-up, and I would recommend you always read those pop-ups as they can have very important information in them on the functionality of the generator. So it says the following criteria must be met to generate a composite output. 5 magic items and 5 mundane items must already be generated over here, and the treasure table must also be generated. So in other words, that's why this says this is not ready. We need 5 mundane items, we need 5 magic items, and we need treasure. We need all 3 of these on, and once all 3 of them are on, this will change from not ready to ready. Now don't worry about these results. The treasure generator, the mundane, and the magic item results are not going to affect what you generate here next, because as soon as you click this generate button, everything in these 3 sections is going to reset. Allow me to show you. Click generate, and now you see a collection of results. We have 5 items, 3 of which are magical, 2 of which are mundane. You can tell that because over here, these 3 bolded blues are what's over here. That lets you know that they didn't make the cut, as it were. You have your 2 oranges, and these are your mundanes right here. Again, the other ones are grayed out, they didn't make the cut. So you will always get 5 items when you generate a little bit of everything. And then we have our treasure section, and you'll notice that that mimics perfectly what's up here, as well as the gems and the uniques. So this little bit of everything just gives you a little bit of everything. Treasure, mundane, and magic, all put into one result. Now, one really important thing that you need to understand with the settings for this section is whatever settings you have up in here in the magic items and the mundane items and the treasure will affect the results that you get down here. So if you don't want there to be legendary or very rare magic items to make it into the cut over here, then make sure you turn them off up here. So the settings for the little bit of everything section is in essence expanded to here and here and here. Trinkets are not included, they're separate. So that's it for the functionality of the item and loot generator. Let me show you the storage system. If you scroll down here to the bottom, you'll notice I have 2 separate sections for storage. I have trinket storage, which you can expand, and we'll look at that in a second. And then you have item and treasure storage. You can expand that, and you'll notice that it looks very similar to what it looks like up here. These 2 columns on the left are for your magic items that you want to save and your mundane items that you want to save. So let's say you wanted to save this list. You just copy from the 1 down to the bottom right corner. Then you come down here, again in the top left corner. You're going to right click, paste special, values only. And now you'll notice that whatever those results were up there are now here. And why this is important, why you would want to do this, is because these cells up here are all dynamic cells, which means as soon as anything anywhere in this sheet changes, these cells will refresh. So watch these cells as I hit the delete key on my keyboard. You'll notice how everything is changing. That's because these are dynamic cells. But if we come down here to the storage area, when I hit the delete key, nothing is changing. In fact, I can scroll up so you can see them all, and you'll notice the top ones are changing while the bottom ones are not. That's because these are no longer dynamic cells because we pasted values only. If you just go click paste, like Control V paste, then it's going to be pulling in the formulas, and you can see up here in the formula section of the sheet, it doesn't say barrier tattoo. It's got a whole bunch of formula, and that's how this all works. You don't want to copy the formula, you just want to copy the results, and that's where the paste special values only is important. Make sure you paste values only. But now this has been saved, so it doesn't matter what happens anywhere else in the sheet, you will have these results here waiting for you anytime. And you can minimize this with a little button there on the left, and that all is still there. I can expand it and see it's still there. And so this gives you a way that you can store your magical items, your mundane items, and your little bit of everything. Again, if I just come up here, copy this section, right click, paste, values only, and now that's there, stored for as long as I want it. You'll notice I have in this little section here letting you know which stacks have storage in them. So stack number 1 has 0 openings. That's this. This is stack number 1. And these 4 cells, 1, 2, 3, 4, correspond with stacks number 1, 2, 3, 4 along the left. These 4 right here correspond with stacks 1, 2, 3, 4 down here, and so forth. Once you're done with what you've saved, just select it all, delete. It says your stack is open again, minimize it, and you're good to keep going. Feel free to come in and edit the title and the notes however you want to, so that it acts as a reminder for you of what these specific stacks are for, in case your memory is not as good as you would like it to be. This also allows you to generate loot for certain quests long before your players even take those quests or finish them, and so you can just generate what are they going to get for the completion of this quest. You can copy those results, paste them here in the storage area, and then they're waiting for you for whenever your players do actually finish that quest. Okay, so that's it for the basic functionality of the item and treasure generator. Be aware, this isn't my only generator. I have dozens that I'm sure you'll find interesting. This table shows all the generators that I've created and which of them, at the time of publishing this video, have video tutorials like this one. All of my generators will have videos soon if they don't have them already. All of my random generators are available for purchase on buymeacoffee.com for just a couple bucks. Links are in the description. If you're enjoying this video, now would be a great time to share it with other gamers. Please hit the like button and subscribe, it really helps me out. Let's get into the customization now of this generator. It's customization that sets my random generators apart from all the others. If you're an experienced GM, loot generators are not rare. We can find free loot generators all over the internet, but what sets this one apart from all of those other ones is that you can customize the loot that is generated far beyond any other generator that you've ever used. No other tool has allowed you to customize the code and the master lists so that you can personally craft your own spectrum of results. Let me show you how to do that now. Every one of my generators has a reference tab. If you look down here at the bottom, we've got the results tab where we are now, and we have the reference tab. And right now, everything is kind of minimized, but you'll notice just like we saw on the other sheet, we have these plus boxes to expand. And our first section is the magic items section, and you'll see this is where all of those 493 items are listed. Each item is listed with its rarity, its type, whether it's official or homebrew, whether it requires attunement or not, and whether it is limited use or permanent. And all of these are drop downs so that as you edit or add new things into this list, all you have to do is select from the drop down menus, and you get to add to this list however your heart desires. So I'm scrolling down to the bottom, and you'll see that these drop down menus are available for you. So if you wanted to add anything in here, the book Astva is now in the list, which means there is a chance that this book can be generated over here in the magic item list, assuming that the uncommon, book, homebrew, attunement required, limited use options are all selected. But now that is an option, and you'll notice that our max draw depth went up to 494, but if I just delete this back out, it goes down to 493 again. So this is where you can craft what sort of magic items might be available for your players to get in a loot drop. Now, this master list is specifically for D&D 5e, so if you're going to be playing for a different TTRPG, then you're going to have to do a little bit more work here on the back end to delete out this whole list and create your new list of whatever the magic items are available for your players in that world. But if you're a D&D 5e player, I've already got all of these items here, and if one of these items gets generated that's from a source book that you don't have, then just click the generate button again and get a new list. Then you can come in here later and delete that one out. Let me show you how to do that. Now, you could just select the item. I'm just going to use this talisman of the sphere as an example. You could just select that item, that row, and click delete. And now that will no longer be generated. However, the catch is with that, you don't want to leave any blank cells in the middle of the list. You can have as many blank cells at the end of the list as you want to, that doesn't matter. But blank cells in the middle of the list will potentially cause problems. And so the better thing to do would be to select the item that you want to remove and all the cells appropriate to it, right click, delete cells, and shift up. Now we don't have that blank row in the middle of the list, and now we will not have any issues that may have come up otherwise. So that's how you're going to want to delete things out of the middle of a list should you find something on the list that you don't want in there. Scrolling back up to the top, this column here, column H with this list, don't mess with that. That's just part of the functionality, so don't change anything in there. So that's it for the magic item master list. You can close that down. Ignore column I here with these X's. It's just for the functionality of the system. There's the mundane item section, and it functions exactly like the magic item section. Same idea, you've got your items, you've got your rarity, your type, and the other settings as well. So same idea, go through here and customize it however you want. And then you have your treasure section. This one is a little more complicated because we have our gems and our unique items and their relation to how valuable they are. So for example, the gem list, this is following the official D&D 5e books, as these gemstones are only worth about 10 gold pieces each, whereas these gemstones are worth 50 gold pieces each. However, they're all part of tier 1, meaning that they are more likely to be generated for really low-end treasure results. Tier 2 are going to be worth more. Generally, the handbook has them worth 100 gold or 500 gold, and you've got gems that are worth 1,000 gold, and then you've got some gems that are worth 5,000 gold. These gemstones are sectioned out contingent upon the level of the treasure that is going to be generated over here in this section. If you want to add something into any of these sections, like let's say you want to add another gemstone into this tier 1A section, here's how you would do that. You would right click somewhere in here, insert cells, and shift down. And now you can type new gem, whatever that new gem is in there, and it will be automatically generated as part of the tier 1A list. If you want to delete something out of one of these sections, you're going to do it the same way you did on the other part of the generation, on the other part of the sheet like I showed you. Right click, delete cells, shift up. If you understand what I just told you there, you understand this section over here. These are the unique items that were generated here. And again, they're color coded. The purples are tier 1, yellows are tier 2, reds are tier 3, blues are tier 4. You can add or remove as you please. This table over here, the coin denomination distribution table, is used to determine how much of the gold that is generated right here is in platinum, how much of it is in gold, how much of it is in silver, and how much of it is in copper. And so, for example, if the gold or if the treasure output is between 0 and 100 gold, what percentage of that gold amount is in platinum, what percentage is in gold, silver, or copper? In this case, 0% of it will be in platinum, 72% will be in gold, 24% in silver, and 4% in copper. As we get into the higher values, like let's say you have a gold hoard of 4,000 gold, we're going to put 72% of it into platinum, 27% into gold, and so forth. The reason this is set up is so that you don't have a treasure hoard of 10,000 gold all manifested in coppers, because that would be ridiculous. You now have 1 million copper pieces, and that's ridiculous. This number up here is the actual gold amount that they get. So you can see this is 21.6 gold. That's how much they're actually going to get. But if you look back over here, we see 16 gold, 5 silver, or 52 silver and 86 copper, and that's going to equal 21.6 gold, essentially, with a little bit of rounding. And so this is the actual amount in gold that they're going to get, and then this number gets run through this table to parse it out into platinum, gold, silver, and copper. And so the reason I'm telling you all this is you can change these percentages if you want. Maybe you want more platinum, maybe you want more gold. You get to change these percentages however you want. Just make sure that each row adds up to 100%. Every one of these rows needs to add up to 100%. If it doesn't, then that can cause issues. And then this row down here is for generating a hoard. 90% of it's going to be in platinum, because otherwise we're going to be dealing with massive piles of coinage that our players might have a hard time moving, depending on if you use encumbrance. This last little section down here is just used to determine which of these tiers are being pulled from in the treasure results. Are we pulling from tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, or tier 4? This cell tells you it's player level plus target wealth. Remember, player level was set right here. So in this case, it's 4, and then we add that to target wealth. But target wealth, if it's poor, it's 4. If it's fair, it's 6. Again, target wealth is right here. Poor, fair, impressive, and exotic. Poor, fair, impressive, exotic. So 4, 6, 8, 10. So if the player level, 4 in this case, plus the target's wealth, and in this case it's fair. So 4 plus 6, because it's fair, equals 10, and that's that number right there. And this number right here is compared against this standard. So in order for the players to have access to tier 1 gems and unique items, they need to have at least 4 points. That's what this cell is saying right here. Purple, purple. In order for your players to have access to tier 1, they need to have at least 4 points, which they're going to get no matter what, because your target's wealth is going to at least be poor, and the target's wealth being poor generates 4 points, which means they will automatically hit that threshold to have access to the tier 1 gems and unique items. But in order for them to have access to tier 2 gems and unique items, they need to get to 8 points, which right now they do, because we just came back over here and we changed the target's wealth to poor. But we are reaching 8 points, which means it's possible for gemstones of the tier 2 variety or unique items of the tier 2 variety to be generated in the results. But the impressive and exotic items, or the reds and the blues, are not going to be generated, because the points that we've acquired through the player level and the target wealth do not equal 15 or more. So having said all that, if you want to change those thresholds, you can. These 4 cells are where you would change how many points each of the target wealth standards generates, and these 4 cells are where you would set or determine the threshold of number of points that need to be generated in order to include the higher levels of loot to be possibly generated. Hopefully that made sense. And so that's what these numbers are for. You can adjust these numbers however you want to. Don't mess with this number, just leave it be. Okay, and then the last is trinkets over here, and this is very simple. It's just a place for you to come in and type in stuff. Currently, there are 1,275 trinkets in this list. So you can scroll all the way down, and we see we have 1,275 trinkets available for generation. And just as I said on those other ones, you can add or remove to this list however you please. And you can ignore this cell. It's just used for making the system function. And that's it, my friends. That is the item, loot, and treasure generator. Hopefully you can see how this can be a massively helpful tool for your TTRPG, especially D&D 5e table, to pull in a lot of that fun, random, let's roll for it and see what the universe decides you guys get. Thank you all for watching. Remember, I have dozens of other generators, so be sure to check them out here on YouTube or at buymeacoffee.com. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and happy gaming.